Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast, the podcast you come to when you're finally ready to take fantasy hockey seriously. My name is Blake Creamer, and in this podcast, I'm going to break down the most puzzling players league-wide as determined by the Apples and Ginos Discord server. Let's get to biz. Oh, yeah. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me here live on the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Again, my name is Blake Creamer. Please give me a follow over on X/Twitter at Blake Creamer AG. I'm bringing the tweet heat all the time, and it feels good. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting one for me. Puzzling players is Nate's baby, not my baby. He doesn't like me to go live, all right, because, he doesn't have the edit button, right? So this is unfiltered, all right? This is Apples and Ginos After Dark. Okay, that's what we're doing here. It's pretty much going to be the exact same thing, folks. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to pump it up, but I am excited. I like doing some puzzling players here, and I also like sort of giving my off-the-cuff takes. I usually spend so long diving into these players, preparing for these shows, so sometimes it's kind of fun to just get into just straight to biz and give you my off-the-cuff takes. So we will do that here. Got a couple comments. Let's get to biz. Thank you for your service, Colin. Let's get to biz. Can a dizzle. Oh, yeah. Appreciate you. All right. That's awesome. Let's do it. So the main player, the biggest player from our Apples and Ginos Discord, by the way, puzzling players, we got all our players from our Apples and Ginos Discord. Get your biscuits in there. Link is in the description if you want to suggest players for this particular show. And our Discord spoke, and the main player we want to talk about today is Big Tage Thompson. Yeah. It's been a rough go for Tager here. 1 point in 5 games. What you can see here, if you're watching on YouTube, this is the Apples and Ginos player evaluation tool. You get this if you're, an Apples tier patron for our Patreon. But yeah, you can see what it looks like here. And yeah, Tage, last 5 games, pretty ugly stuff. Deployment is been a little bit concerning. 17 minutes average time on ice, but I mean, Tage doesn't kill penalties. So obviously he's out there in offensive situations only. So that's fine. But yeah, some of the other numbers are a little bit disturbing as well. He's 83rd in shots to goal per 60. That's not great. 323rd in individual scoring chances for per 60. That's shocking. Right? It's not what we want to see here for Tage. 103rd in individual expected goals per 60. So shots that actually hit the net. He's doing a little bit better there. You can see the on-ice numbers here. So Corsi 4 per 60, scoring chance 4 per 60, and expected goals per 60. Those are much better, right? He's 27th, 46th, and 18th in those metrics respectively. So yeah, it's just a tough stretch. I was digging in a little bit on Tage to see what was going on, and at even strength, I mean, things are pretty reasonable. They're in line, a little lower than his norm, but nothing crazy than what he's done historically. It's really that Buffalo Sabres power play that's been a problem for Tage in particular, right? Buffalo's power play 20th overall in the league. Not awesome, right? And also, I will say, too, at even strength, Tage has been getting some different line mates there. You got Josh Norris back in the fold here. So now it's Josh Norris, Zach Benson, and Tage. But, I mean, they were running Jordan Greenway out there last game, at least to start. So, yeah, I think with Norris back in the mix here, I like that line. I like Norris, Benson, and Tage Thompson. I feel like that's a line that can do stuff for fantasy. They've just been really unlucky, right? Like I said here, and why I say that is because these on-ice numbers are really good. So they're generating a lot of attempts and scoring chances, but they're just not putting the biscuit in the basket. So on the season for Tage, I mean, he's still 8th overall in shots to goal per 60. That's great. That's exactly what we want. Individual expected goals per 60, he's 5th, right? But he's only pacing for a 64-point pace. I just think that Tage has been unlucky, but he does need that power play to get cooking here. And it might not happen, honestly. Like he only had 16 power play points last year, even though he had 44 goals, only 7 of them on the power play last year. So this might just be kind of the model that Tage is until they can get that power play sorted. But I will say I think Josh Norris is going to be a net positive for the power play. And once he sort of gets acclimated here and the team gets acclimated with him there, I feel like that power play is going to get a little bit better, maybe in the upper half of the league. I don't think they should sit around 20th with the talent they have there. So I don't know. All that to say, I think Tage is a buy low. He's not a crazy buy low because I don't love the metrics, especially recently, or the ice time. But if you can get him, I would still be in on Tage Thompson, no question. A lot of people have been asking too, do they think Tage is injured? And it's just hard to say. I haven't seen anything out there that suggests that. I've been watching a few of the games there with Buffalo just because I like Tage, and he looks fine to me. He's not laboring. So I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, but I don't think that it's an injury that's bothering Tage. I think it's just some puck luck and I don't know, kind of a mid-level team there with the Buffalo Sabres. So anyways, that's my take on Big Tage. I'm not too concerned. I think, by the end of the year, we're probably still looking at a 75 to 80 point player with, upwards of 40 goals. So get some Tage in your life if you can. Let's move on to the next player here. Joel Eriksson Ek of the Minnesota Wild. 0 points in the last 5 games, buddy. Help us out. My God, what the hell's going on with Minnesota this year? The even strength play was pretty gross. I mean, early on in the year, the power play was really carrying them. And now the even strength play is actually a little bit better. They're still not putting the biscuit in the basket, but the underlyings are better for Minnesota. And now the power play's kind of fallen off a little bit. They're still 11th overall in conversion rate. So that's fine for Minnesota. But in terms of Eriksson Ek, a couple of the markers that we like about Jeek is his ability to shoot the puck, right? And he's not doing it, right? Especially last 5 games, 147th overall in shots on goal per 60. That ain't going to cut it, right? And then 292nd in individual expected goals per 60. And again, the on-ice numbers, not great. Joel Eriksson Ek has been playing mostly on the second line there with Marcus Johansson and Matt Boldy. So, yeah, these lines have kind of been all over the place as well. So, I don't know. Obviously Jeek's ceiling is going to be captured when he's playing on a line with Kaprizov. And I think that's common sense. When they put Jeek, Kaprizov, and Boldy on a line, that's when we're going to see the best version offensively of Joel Eriksson Ek. Right now, he's still a defensive beast, I think, but 45-point pace on the season, that's not great. 62nd overall in shots on goal per 60. Again, that should be much higher for this player. So we just have to manage expectations, I think, on Jeek. He's always been kind of a 60 to 65 point player max, a guy that we shouldn't really expect more than that. And even with the great deployment that he gets when he is with Kaprizov, and he's still on power play 1, right? But he's not a big part of power play 1. He's one of these low IPP guys on the power play. So he's kind of just getting in position. The guys are moving around the perimeter, and he's maybe tapping in or, being at the end of passes, kind of net front or in that bumper position. So, yeah, I think 45 points seems low to me. We should see Jeek up around the 60-point mark. So I think that's kind of the pace we should expect for Eriksson Ek, but I don't know. It's not a guarantee, and I just haven't really liked what I've seen with Minnesota at 5-on-5, and that does give me a little bit of pause with Joel Eriksson Ek. Also, his shooting percentage is terrible, right? Like on the year, it's 4.8%. That's going to go up, folks. He's not a 4.8% shooter. He's not efficient by any means, but he's definitely better than that. I think you could double that, and that would obviously double his goal total. So that said, I think, yeah, you're holding Joel Eriksson Ek. If you're in a 10-teamer, maybe you want to move off of Joel Eriksson Ek. That's fine. But as long as he has access to that power play, Boldy and Kaprizov, I think you got to hold and you take the good with the bad, right? The good thing is he brings the periffs, right? 52 hits, 13 blocks in 29 games. That'll play, Jeek. That'll play, right? So, yeah, hang on to Jeek. Don't worry so much. But again, we manage expectations. Treat him as a 50 to 60-point player. If that's not enough for you in your league or format, bounce him, all right? Let's move over to Austin Matthews. This coffee tastes like shit. Sorry, I said that live. Damn it. Kids listen to this, all right? They don't need to hear me saying that word, all right? But Austin Powers, elite movie. Hit me up in the comments if you like Austin Powers, all right? I'm lonely over here, all right? I'm drinking a Diet A&W Rudy, and that feels nice too, all right? Nice and crisp. Anyways, we're talking Austin Matthews, another player that the Apples and Ginos Discord wanted to look at. And Yeah, this is a tough one, Austin Matthews, because we obviously rank him really high. This was an interesting year because what does he look like with Mitch Marner out of the picture? That was a player that was kind of stapled to his line. They had good chemistry together. They had their biggest years together. And now Matthews, he's pacing for 68 points. What? I mean, some people drafted this guy as high as 3. I mean, in the 3 to 7 ranges where you were getting Austin Matthews. And if you're getting him at 7, felt like an absolute steal. So I am a little bit concerned about Matthews just in terms of his ability to get to that 100-point level. I'm not sure that happens here this year. And there's some markers here that I'm really not liking. Obviously, as of late, 5 points, 2 goals and 3 assists in the last 5 games. Time on ice, no problem. He's still getting the 20-minute treatment, but he should be a top 10 shots and goal per 60 guy. In the last 5 games, he's 54th. On the season, he's 14th. And I know that seems good, but he should be a top 5 to 10 on the season. So he's not shooting as much. The individual expected goals per 60, 15th. That's still elite, but I just don't see the way that he's not being put in positions the way he would be if Marner was on his line, right? And Marner is an elite facilitator and a great skater to boot, and also does, yeoman's work defensively to kind of free Austin Matthews up a little. So I think with Marner gone, now you have Matthews having to play a little bit more defensively. Obviously, the periffs are amazing. Shots, blocks, hits too for Austin Matthews. He does that really well. So, the floor is completely fine. But he's having to play on the defensive side of the puck a little bit more, I believe. And in this case, I think it's costing him a few goals. And plus, I'm still not sure if he's 100% healthy. This is one of those guys that appears to me to just gut it out. Like, he's just going to go out there. If he can skate, he's going to play. And even if it's his shooting that's affected, he's still going to do that. So all that to say, I'm managing expectations with Austin Matthews. I'm not trying to get off him, right? You got him in your lineup. Like, he still has that nuclear option. He's still a guy that almost scored 70 goals in this league, right? We have to respect that. He can get hot and get the biz doing that. But right now, 68-point pace, that's not what we like. I think, if I had to guess, maybe like an 85 to 90-point pace for Austin Matthews rest of season. But again, this is a player that can get extremely hot. His shooting percentage down a little bit, right? It's the same as it was last year where he got 33 goals in 67 games. But I mean, that's in his big seasons, he's shooting up around 18%. So, take it for what it's worth. I love the player, but this might be a case where your first round pick is kind of disappointing you a little bit and might not return that value that we hoped he would. All right. Next player we want to talk about. I'm not crazy. I'm just a little lone. Well, yeah. Robert Thomas. I wonder if Robert Thomas likes Matchbox 20. Does anybody have Robert Thomas's information and can just shoot him a message, just a quick message? And if you get that, message receipt, send it our way, okay? Because, inquiring minds want to know. It just makes sense, right? Matchbox 20. My God. Well, what does that even mean? I'm sorry. They're always catching strays on this pod. And that's fine. But in terms of Robert Thomas, 3 assists in the last 5 games. Okay. It's been a rough season here for St. Louis. I think there's definitely some cracks here in the armor. The wheels are starting to fall off a little bit in terms of their offense. Like, they're 23rd overall at 5-on-5 and expected goals for. That's not great. They're 26th overall in actual goals against as well. So it's a poor offensive environment and it's a poor defensive environment. And they have some of the worst goaltending in the league with Jordan Bin in the sauce, Mr. Binnington. He's got that punchable face, folks. And it's been really rough stuff there in St. Louis. And Rob Thomas being injured for a little bit of that certainly didn't help. But digging in on his individual metrics, like, what we know about Robert Thomas is that he's not a goal scorer, right? He's not a guy that's going to generate a ton of shots or chances for himself, but he is an elite facilitator. And when I dug in on Rob Thomas in the offseason, this is a guy that shows out in things like shot assists, chance assists, high danger assists. He looks great out there. Like, he really moves that puck well. And, players that have access to Rob Thomas should be, should be eating, right? And it just hasn't been that way. I mean, again, a lot of line juggling with the St. Louis Blues, some injuries and things like that. Right now, he's playing with Pavel Buchnevich and Jake Neighbors. Hey, neighbor. Yeah, and I think Jake Neighbors got a couple goals the other night, didn't he? Playing with Rob Thomas, so that's pretty good. Shout out to Jake Neighbors. But yeah, it's going to be Rob Thomas is one of these guys that I've seen for years now. Like he paces for 80 to 90 points, and he's still on your waiver wire, right? Because he doesn't do anything else, right? He barely shoots. He doesn't hit. He doesn't block, right? He's got 4 hits in 26 games. My guy, he's actively dodging hits. Like he's like a bullfighter out there. I don't know what's happening, but yeah. So, and right now he's kind of doing that, right? So when he's not giving you production, he's giving you donuts, and 3 assists in 5 games. That's not great. He's got 18 points in 26 games on the year. That's a 57-point pace. Really ugly stuff, right? After a 95-point pace in 2024-25. So what do the metrics say? Let's take a look here. I mean, as I mentioned, last 5 games, no shots. He's not generating any chances for himself. He's 329th overall in shots on goal per 60. Shocking, right? Like, again, actively trying to avoid shots. 305th in individual expected goals for. That's not what you want to see. I'd love to see the on-ice numbers looking a little bit better here for Rob Thomas, but they aren't. Right, he's 184th in Corsi 4 per 60, 233rd. His line generating scoring chances 4 per 60. That's not going to cut it, right? And I think we've seen that with the Blues here. It's been a rough go. So what do you do with Rob Thomas? Like, 57-point pace Rob Thomas, I just feel like is kind of a replaceable player, right? Certainly in a 10-teamer, I think Rob Thomas is. I'm not saying you need to drop Rob Thomas. Like, again, this is a power play 1, line 1 guy. They should be coveted, right? This is a guy that does have value, but if it's not working for you, like it's a 57-point pace, and the Blues are not getting any better, to be honest. Like it's, like I said, really poor offensive environment. They're getting caved in defensively as well. Let's take a look at their power play. Actually, yeah, power play 17th overall in conversion, so they're not really getting it done there either. So it's not an exciting player. I had him on a couple rosters here, a couple of my teams, and I didn't hesitate to get rid of him. Like I dropped him for Carter Verhaeghe in a spot, which I really liked because Carter Verhaeghe is sort of on the way up, and Rob Thomas is center only as well. So all that to say, I don't think you absolutely need to hold on to Robert Thomas. Certainly not in a 10-teamer. In a 12-teamer, he's a bubble player, right? Like if you can get a guy in for more games, like let's say, this week, for instance, you've got a guy like JJ Peterka out there, or even Nick Schmaltz. I'd probably go with one of them over Rob Thomas this week because of that amazing schedule. So those are kind of the things I'm looking at doing there. I mean, I just want to make sure St. Louis doesn't have some amazing schedule here either, for God's sake. Anyways, yeah, no, they play 3 games with 1 off night. That's fine. So yeah, but that's the type of player I would almost rather have than Rob Thomas, a person that does generate a bit more. And if they're not a player that generates their own offense, they need to have periffs, right? And Rob Thomas doesn't do either. So that's just one of the big knocks on him. And I know he had that injury, and this is a guy that can get hot. And I think that he probably will finish the season with like a 70 to 80 point pace. But it's just, it's not exciting stuff. If he's on the waiver wire, he's one of these guys that gets overlooked, right? So yeah, take that for what you will. Let's move on. Let's talk about Kirill Kaprizov. This is again another first rounder that is maybe not giving you exactly what you drafted him for. Like he's got 32 points in 29 games, 90-point pace. No, right? We drafted Cap for like 110 point season, and he's not doing it. He's hurting our feelings. All right, and I don't like that, Cap. That's unkind. But yeah. Metrics on the year don't really tell the story of how good Kaprizov is, right? If you look at shots on goal per 60, 58th overall, individual expected goals per 60, he's 35th overall. IPP 71, that's fine. Shooting percentage up at 18%, on-ice shooting percentage 13%. I think it's just a case of kind of what I talked about with Jeek there. Minnesota at even strength, not getting the job done, right? They've been extremely unlucky. I did mention they were, second. I think I mentioned they're second worst in goals scored at 5-on-5, but they're actually 11th best in expected goals for. So their finishing is terrible, right? Like some of the worst in the league at 5-on-5. So that indicates to me a lot of bad luck, especially when you've got talented players like Kaprizov, Jeek, and Boldy kind of getting the biz out there. And the Zucchini Man, right? These guys usually, get that done. So, I mean, that's kind of what's going on with Cap right now. But, I mean, the minutes are huge. He's getting almost 23 minutes a night, 3 goals, 1 assist in the last 5 games. Metrics, they're okay, right? 133rd in shots goal per 60 in the last 5, 74th in individual expected goals per 60 over the last 5. So you just got to wait it out, right? I still believe that this is a 100-point player. As soon as this season, I think he'll probably get to 100 points. Because I think this is going to, regress positively a little bit, just the expected goals and the actual goals sort of leveling off, and we'll meet somewhere in the middle. So I'm not too concerned. Again, the power play there in Minnesota, 11th best. So Cap's going to get the biz on that. I'm not too worried. So just stick it out. I mean, if there's managers in your league that are getting a little bit pissy with Cap's production, kick some offers over, right? I've had some really good conversations. I haven't been able to get anything done. But Cap's on the table in some of these conversations, which I've noticed. A lot of fantasy managers are wanting to cut their losses. They feel like, they were duped a little bit. 110-point player turning into a 90-point player. I just don't see it. And I think Minnesota is going to pick things up at 5-on-5, and that's going to be the difference for Cap. Let's talk about a couple Carolina Hurricanes. We're going to Carolina. Nothing could be finer, right? Give it to me, Neil. Come on, Neil. Damn it. Neil Groot Nibbelink. Where is that guy? He's a good-looking man, all right? Goatee, right? Combed, coiffed. Is anybody with me on this? Is this thing on? I always wonder. My wife came in one time. She was just standing at the door, like watching me do this. It just must seem like just absolute, even more nonsense than what you're listening to. At least you have context, right? My wife, she doesn't know what's going on. So yeah, she's concerned about me, but that's fine. Anyways, let's talk about Carolina. We got Nikolai Ehlers and Andrei Svechnikov, 2 players I want to talk about here. Ehlers, thankfully, mercifully, is that a word? He's starting to get some points on the board here. Obviously had a pretty rough start to the season, but 4 points in the last 5 games. 84th overall in shots goal per 60. I think there's a lot of room for that to grow. He's chucking pucks. 22nd overall in individual Corsi for per 60. So that is important. And then 23rd overall in individual expected goals per 60. And then you look at his on ice numbers the last 5 games, really nice stuff. Right now he's playing with Logan Stankoven. Put some stank on it. And Jackson Blake. Yep. And I actually like this. I had a good conversation. I don't know when Ehlers was first moved off that top line onto the second line. Because Ehlers was playing with Aho and Seth Jarvis, and it really wasn't working. Like that's where he was just really in a funk. He wasn't putting any points on the board. And I really felt like he needs to be sort of the main play driver on his line. And when he was with Aho and Jarvis, they didn't need him to take the wheel. You know what I mean? But now that he's bounced down to the second line with Logan Stankoven and Jackson Blake, like first off, you got Stankoven, I think, is going to be a beauty. I mean, I'm not expecting huge production here this year, but I really like that player. I think he's a great 2C, really good distributor. Jackson Blake is an amazing forechecker, board battle guy, and Nikolai Ehlers can handle the zone entries and setting things up and getting chances there. So it's a better fit for him. The problem is, Rod the Bod, buddy, get him out for more minutes. Like last 5 games, he's averaging just under 16 minutes, and that hurts, one of these seasons, we got to see, someone's got to go full Ehlers, right? You never go full Ehlers. Well, Rod, you got to go full Ehlers here, bud. All right. This is no good. I don't think any of us were really expecting Ehlers to sign that big extension and then only get an extra 30 seconds of time on ice over what he had in Winnipeg last year. That's really not what I was expecting. So that's fine. He's here for the long haul, so they're obviously invested in Ehlers. I think that time on ice should increase, but yeah, he doesn't kill penalties, and they kind of just roll lines out there the way RBA does, So that is a little bit frustrating, but I'm not concerned. He's on power play 1. That power play in Carolina, 27th overall in the league. It's not great, right? But I think it should get a little better. I think they put Jordan Stahl on there. They started scoring goals. So I don't know, make it make sense. But I think that power play should be a lot better. Shane Gostisbehere was injured for a little bit as well. And I think, that kind of affected and skewed these numbers. I think Gostisbehere is a really elite power play quarterback. And I think that power play is going to start to improve as well. And Ehlers is on it. So rest of season. I mean, right now he's on a 56-point pace. I think 60 to 65 points for Ehlers is probably where he lives with like 30 goals. But he's got to start, getting a little bit more efficient here. The problem is the ceiling is 75 to 80 points if he got 18 to 20 minutes average time on ice. And it just doesn't look like that's going to happen without significant injuries here in Carolina. So manage expectations. I drafted Ehlers in a spot and I'm happy to have him. But I am valuing him as like a 60-point player there. So my 2 cents on Ehlers. Svechnikov, kind of in a similar boat, but he is up on the top line. So I like to see that. He's got 3 assists in his last 5. Ice time better, right? He's averaging over 17 minutes average time on ice. But again, the shots are down for Svech over this last 5 games. He's 87th overall in shots over 60. Not the norm for this player, right? And then you look at the individual expected goals per 60. No, it's terrible, right? So you see that, but you also look at the on-ice numbers for Svech. Like Svech is playing with Aho and Seth Jarvis. So what that says to me is that Svech isn't the one at the end of passes. It's either Aho or Jarvis, right? Specifically Jarvis. He's been doing pretty well this year. So needless to say, I think, Svech will probably get a little bit more of a piece of this offense. And I'm happy with the ice time to some degree, but I'm not happy with the 44-point pace. I think that's really, really low for this player. And I'm not sure where it goes from here. Like this is a player too that I think with the right ice time and the right deployment, we're looking at a 70 to 75-point player, but we've been saying that for years and it just hasn't come to fruition at this point. So I don't know. I think this year, like if we kind of treat it like the last season where he was at a 55-point pace, I think that's probably what happens again here this year. We've got a really good second line here. Players like Ehlers, Jackson Blake starting to cut into some of that offense, right? Becoming bigger parts of that offense. And I think Svech is getting left out in the cold. I would love if Svechnikov would get traded. That would make me very happy. I'd love to see him go to the Canucks. All right, let's convert him to a center. We'll just make him 1C right off the bat. We don't even care. But I should mention this. On the season, Svech's numbers, pretty damn nice. 12th overall in shots on goal per 60. So really nice stuff there. 10th overall in individual scoring chances for per 60. That's great. But his line is chucking pucks better than any other line when he's out there. So he's first overall in Corsi 4 per 60, 16th in scoring chances 4 per 60. Those are really good signs, right? I think that Carolina, they've been doing fine, right? Especially 5-on-5. I'd love to see him put a little bit more, just get a little bit better at the power play production, right? He's got 4 power play goals, only 1 assist there for 5 points in 28 games. He's getting 59% power play share. So I'd like to see a lot more there from Svech. And I think that is possible. But this might be what we're looking at for a little while here with Svech. I would value him as like a 50 to 55-point player moving forward, unless he starts getting prioritized by RBA, which I'm not holding my breath for. All right. Sweet. Let's move on. We got to talk about Jackson Lacombe of the Anaheim Ducks. And I'm loving this. I'm loving Jackson Lacombe this year. I love that Nate and I started on this guy nice and early. And it was just a player that I was able to identify quickly with the microstats and Corey Schneider's all 3 zones microstat cards. This guy pops off the page. It was unbelievable because Anaheim, one of the worst offensive and defensive environments last season. But when you dig in on some of the microstats, the zone play, the retrievals, success rate, entering the zone, leading to scoring chances, all this stuff, Jackson Lacombe showed out in every single metric, and obviously got a big contract for that. And I think the question was, what kind of ice time was he going to get under Coach Q? And we've got our answer. He's the clear number 1 D-man here in Anaheim, and he's been popping off. You know what's exciting about this player is he's popping off under the hood, but he's not exactly popping off on the score sheet, right? I mean, Lacombe, right? What does he have? He's 16 points in 29 games. That's a 45-point pace. That's less than he had last year, right? But he's getting way more ice time. He's getting way more opportunity. He's playing with better players. And so this is the type of guy that I would clearly be buying low on. If you can call this low. Like if he gets 45 points, I think that's a successful season for Jackson Lacombe. But I think this player has 60-point potential, especially with just his involvement in the offense. Big time minutes, like I said, last 5 games, 22 and a half minutes, only 2 assists. That's fine. 30th overall in shots and goal per 60 for defensemen. First overall in individual scoring chances for per 60. Really nice stuff there. 3rd overall amongst D-men in individual expected goals for 60. And then on ice numbers, great as well when he's out there. 5th overall in scoring chances for per 60. 3rd overall in expected goals per 60 when he's on the ice. Really nice stuff. I mean, there's a couple things like buy low markers, right? His IPP over the last 5 games, only 28%. It should be closer to like 45, right? That's where this guy should live. So he's got some headroom there. On ice shooting percentage is below 10. I think it should be 10 or higher for a player of this caliber. And, that's just in the last 5 games. I think on the season, his IPP is 33%. So again, lots of room to grow there. On ice shooting percentage, much better in that regard. So I think Jackson Lacombe, rest of season, I'm treating him like a 55 to 60 point D man. I think the points are going to start coming here. Anaheim has been unbelievable offensively. Like let me just dig in here. I gotta verify this, but yeah, 5-on-5. They're 7th overall in the league in expected goals for. They're 4th overall in actual goals scored at 5-on-5. The Anaheim Ducks, folks, unbelievable stuff. I mean, the defense is still porous, right? But they're kind of playing a run and gun style, which is really exciting to watch. And their power play is 18th best in conversion. I think there's some headroom there to go as well. So all this to say, I think Jackson Lacombe is a really good buy low candidate. I'd be trying to get my hands on him if I didn't own him in 4 of my 7 leagues. So there you go. I'm loving me some Jackson Lacombe. And I feel like we hit on this one. This might not be the season where he gets 60 points, but I truly believe that Jackson Lacombe will be a 60 to 65 point D-man in the near future, maybe even next year. So it's my 2 cents there on Jackson Lacombe. Let's talk about Victor Hedman. Not too much to say about Hedman. Obviously, he's just back off injury here, and that was a significant injury he was dealing with. We all know Darren Radish sort of picked up the pace with Hedman out of the lineup. So, and took power play 1 and kept power play 1. I haven't looked into the game here today, but the lines pre-game had Darren Radish lining up on power play 1 and Hedman on power play 2. So I don't know. You can read into that a bunch of different ways. I feel like Hedman is coming back off a pretty significant injury. So I don't think they're rushing him out there to play huge minutes. In his first game back, he played 60-43. So even if he didn't get power play 1 or isn't going to get power play 1 moving forward, there's no way that John Cooper is going to play Victor Hedman 16 minutes and 43 seconds on a nightly basis, right? So that's really it to me. I feel like Darren Radish is sort of on borrowed time on power play 1. I still think that Radish will be a reasonable streamer with Tampa, but we cannot expect him to hold power play 1 when you got Victor Hedman here in the wings. I don't think this is a Mikhail Sergachev Hedman situation. I think we've got a guy in Darren Radish that is, performing even better than average. He's performing really well on that power play. We've got a post-injury Victor Hedman. Let's ease him back into the lineup. Let's let Radish continue to carry that power play load, get those minutes. And when Hedman's ready, they switch it, right? Because it'd be silly to sit here and say that Darren Radish is a better option on power play 1 than Victor Hedman. It doesn't make any sense. So I really, truly believe Hedman will be back on power play 1. But if for some reason he doesn't get power play 1, like remember it was 2022-23 where Victor Hedman kind of split the power play with Mikhail Sergachev, and he had 49 points in 76 games. To me, that's what we should probably expect as a pace for Victor Hedman, and maybe even less, right? He's 3 years older, right? if they're really going to give him power play 2, I think they might try and sort of keep him as fresh as possible for the playoffs and let Darren Radish really run with it. So yeah, that's my 2 cents there. I really do feel like, Hedman owners, I don't think you need to worry, but you need to be patient, right? It could be 5, maybe even 10 games where they're kind of doing this, letting Hedman get his legs back. But interesting season. Hedman doesn't even have a goal yet. 12 assists in 16 games. That's crazy, right? This is a defenseman who is usually pretty efficient, right? A guy that shoots, over 7% multiple seasons here. He's scored double-digit goals multiple times. So I really do think he'll get back there. And I think it's just a luxury that they have Darren Radish, who's able to hold the fort and actually do something with it while Hedman gets back to full health. Okay. All right, let's move on. Got to pick up the pace here. Oh, my God. Chatty Cathy over here. All right, Pavel Dorofeyev. That's another one we wanted to talk about here. 2 assists in 5 games. Last 5 games, that's fine. He's on a 53-point pace on the year. I've had some questions about Dorofeyev, and I think that expectations are a killer for this player. Right now, he's pacing for basically the same exact season that he had last year, right? Big goal totals, 50 to 55 points, and not a lot of periffs. And that's really it, right? Like this guy is a great power play performer. He's got good even strength deployment, but something's missing there, like in terms of play generation, right? Facilitation. He's not that guy, right? He's get into position and use the weapons that he has, which is an amazing one-timer. So I just feel like this is kind of what we signed on for. I think the expectation was that he would be this 40-goal, 75-point guy. And we were in on it too. And I think he has that in his bag, but he's still a young guy. He's only 25. I think if he got, 35 goals and 17 assists like he did last year, that would be a successful season for Pavel Dorofeyev here. With the Vegas Golden Knights, they've got so many options out there, right? Maybe the addition of Mitch Marner kind of slows the role of a guy like Pavel Dorofeyev a little bit, because it just throws another offensive player, a guy that has his own gravity, onto the team and who needs puck touches. So yeah, all that to say, I'm not concerned about Pavel Dorofeyev as long as he's got power play 1. I think that's a player you need to have on your team. Vegas has the 4th best power play percentage in the league, and Dorofeyev's on it, and he's got a cannon of a shot. And Mark Stone is back, who I think makes that power play a lot better. So yeah, sorry, clear my throat here. I think the goals are going to come back here. Right now, he's on a 32 goal pace. I could see that going up to 40. I could see him getting 40 and 20, something like that this year. That'd be pretty damn nice. But the metrics, yeah, in terms of his metrics on the year, you want to see a little bit more, right? Pavel Dorofeyev is a big shooter. He's only popping for 45th overall in shots goal per 60. I'd like to see that number bump up a little bit. He's 44th overall in individual expected goals per 60 as well. Fine numbers. I think, what you see is what you get right now, Pavel Dorofeyev, and manage those expectations and then allow him to exceed them, right? But I think what we're looking at right now is a 50 to 55-point player, big shots, big power play goals, and goals, right? That's why you're rostering Dorofeyev. Let's move on. Another player we want to talk about here, Kevin Fiala of the Los Angeles Kings. A favorite of mine for sure. And I felt like this is weird because I have Fiala in a bunch of spots, and I felt like he was doing really good. And then I look at his numbers. He's only pacing for 56 points. Buddy, yeah, he's pissing me off. Like he's been scoring like timely goals for me. And I don't know if you guys get this kind of player on your team, like a guy that scores, has a big Sunday or something like that and wins you a matchup. And then you just love the guy and kind of forget about all the, crappy things that he's not doing out there. And that's Kevin Fiala to me. I feel like I've noticed him in a positive way more than I've noticed him in a negative way. But yeah, when you look at his numbers, 56-point pace for a player of this offensive caliber, that's no good, right? His shooting percentage is down. He's shooting 11.5% on the year. That stinks. We know the Kings power play has been terrible, right? And I think that is a big factor for what's happening here with Fiala. This guy had 25 power play points last year, 30 the year previous to that, and that really boosts his numbers. This year, he only has 8 points in 28 games on the power play. And yeah, that's really what's sinking him a little bit. And I think there is some hope there, but it's kind of based on what the hell Jim Hillard is going to do with this power play there. Like this 5-forward power play business doesn't work. It didn't work in LA. They're 30th overall in power play percentage. You got a guy like Brandt Clarke out here. What are we doing? I mean, Nate's talked about it. I've talked about it. At the very least, get Drew Doughty out there on the power play, which they have done. And they were able to, get some success with that. So hopefully they get away from this 5-forward power play, get Drew Doughty out there. At the very least, Brandt Clarke, I think, would make this power play really hum. So that's something to keep an eye out. Obviously, we're big Brandt Clarke fans here. The Brandt Clarke 5. I don't know, anybody listen to jazz music? Anybody? It's pretty good. Fun fact, I went to a jazz college out here on the West Coast. I took jazz studies for a semester. I was going to be a jazz musician. And I realized there's no money and I'm really lazy and I didn't want to work that hard. So I still love jazz music though. So I don't know, maybe you get me on the right net. I'll give you a skiddly beep bop dee bop bee. It's terrible. And this is what happens when I'm live, right? Nate can't do anything. And you can't edit this out, right? You can't triple stamp a double stamp. We know this. Sorry, I'm getting on my nonsense again. Kevin Fiala. Let's get back on the horse here. I'm not concerned. I feel like that power play has a lot of headroom. They've got good offensive players there. And Fiala's doing just enough, right? Like it's frustrating for sure. 3 points in the last 5. Okay. Metrics are good though. 38th overall in shots to goal per 60, 68th overall in individual expected goals per 60. He's playing on a line last I saw with, it's Quentin Byfield, who's having kind of a down season as well. And they had Joel Armia up there. I mean, okay, that's fine. I like the deployment and I trust the player's talent. I feel like some of this is just going to be power play stuff. And I really do believe that LA's power play is going to get a lot better with the addition of Drew Doughty on the back end. So book it there. Let me just make sure, I'm just looking at Kevin Fiala's season-long numbers here as well. IPP is right where it needs to be. I think that could even be a little bit higher. He's 70% on the season. It's a guy that drives play at a higher level than that, right? So I think there's a little bit of room there. On-ice shooting percentage, really low, 8.9%. That's stinky, right? That should be up around 12% for a player of this caliber. So his team's letting him down, and the power play is letting him down. That's kind of what's going on with him. I expect that power play at the very least to get going again. And if Quentin Byfield can really get going here for once, now we can really see like the 70 to 80 point Fiala. Next player to talk about, Gabe Landeskog of the Colorado Avalanche. And I know Nate's talked about this player a lot, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on Gabe Landeskog, but I think you got to have him, right? You got to have him on your roster right now while he's line 2. He's playing with Brock Nelson and Ross Colton. Nice place to be. Nelson's been playing really well. Landeskog's minutes too. That's what I love to see. Last 5 games, 16 and a half minutes. That's great. But that power play one is really the key for Landeskog here. One thing I did want to say, and I had to double check this, Colorado Avalanche, they're 25th ranked in a power play. That was a surprise to me because sometimes there are just stats that I miss. I'm looking through things all over the place, and sometimes there's a stat that I miss. And Colorado having the 25th, best power play, that's not something I expected, seeing as how they're just steamrolling teams this year. And they're not even, their expected goals on the power play are pretty low as well. So that's a bit of a surprise, especially when you got the caliber of guys that are out there. So, power play one in Colorado, it's not like the end all be all, right? As it has been in previous seasons. I'm not saying it won't get there again. I'm sure it probably will, right? But just a fun fact, they're 25th ranked in the NHL in power play conversion. So take that for what it's worth. But as long as Gabe Landeskog is on line 2, power play 1, he's a must roster player for me. I think, the bangs are going to come back as well. Lots to like about Gabe Landeskog. Let's move on. Talk about Troy Terry of the Anaheim Ducks. This is pretty good stuff. Troy Terry is pacing for 85 points. I don't remember what Nate's projection was for Troy Terry, but we both thought it was a little high. Nate was like, I don't know, I might have to go back in and change that. I don't think he did, so I'm glad. But I think he had him for like 73 points or something like that. And this has been a really, really nice season for Troy Terry. The Anaheim Ducks in general, like I talked about already, they're a wagon offensively, and they've got some room to grow on the power play. Troy Terry's minutes are what we'd love to see. I mean, just over 19 minutes last 5 games, 3 assists in the last 5 games. Metrics are pretty good for Troy Terry, right? He's the type of guy that doesn't generate his own shots or scoring chances really in the past. But this year he's been shooting a little bit more, 125th overall in shots on goal per 60. Love to see that. His line is cooking. I mean, you got Leo Carlsson popping off out there, and Terry's along for the ride and getting to biz. So yeah, I'm full steam ahead. Troy Terry's must roster player. Obviously, you've got him on your squad. I think that, 85 points, that seems like the tippy top to me. That seems like absolute ceiling. I think he probably will land somewhere in the range that Nate projected him for, which was 73 points. I think if Troy Terry hits those numbers, that would be incredible, right? But I mean, his IPP, 62% on the year. I could see that going higher, right? He's an amazing rush player. But I mean, now you got Leo Carlsson taking some of those touches away, right? So he doesn't have to do it all when he's out there. Shooting percentage for Troy Terry, I could see that going up as well. This is a guy that has been efficient in the past. So lots of ways for Troy Terry to get to, 75 to 80 points. And I'm here for it. He only has 7 of his points on the power play. That's crazy. 7 of his 30 points are on the power play. The rest are at 5-on-5, where he's absolutely crushing. So yeah, get some Troy Terry in your life. Hopefully you were able to pick him up off waivers. I drafted him in 3 spots and was able to hold on, but yeah, it's been a really nice season for him. Sorry, my throat's getting dry, folks. That's what happens when you yammer on like a lunatic. All right. But I'm fine with it. All right. Roman Josi, next player we want to talk about, puzzling player here. Yeah, it's been it's really hard to gauge Nashville. Like, I don't know what's going on with that team. It feels like more of the same from last year. Like, you just can't put your finger on it, but nothing looks or feels good. I mean, they are 26th overall in goals scored at 5-on-5. They're 31st overall in goals against. So again, we're looking at a terrible offensive and defensive environment. Their power play stinks. It's 26th best, quote unquote, best in the league. And their goaltending's been pretty crappy. The Juice Tiger, UC Saros, he's pooping the bed out there. But I mean, look what's out in front of him, right? It's not been good. So that really is going to take the ceiling away from a guy like Roman Josi. And then, his POTS diagnosis, I don't know if that's really affected him this year as much as the talent around him is affecting him. You know what I mean? Like, or the lack of talent. I mean, I think you look up and down the roster here with Nashville, and this is a slow, older team. And they just really got away from what made them successful in that year where they played the Canucks in the playoffs and took them to 7 games. Like, they were a grinding team. They were a hardworking team. They were a fast team. And picking up Johnny Marchessault, Steven Stamkos, like, they kind of went the other way with it, and they took a gamble and it didn't work, and it continues not to work. I think it's going to be a fire sale there in Nashville here soon. But for Roman Josi, yeah, I mean, his metrics are down across the board. There's no question about that. This is a guy that should be pushing for 20 goals a season from the back end. He's got 2 in 16 games. Not great. His shots are down. I mean, he's not really hitting out there. Power play, he's got 2 power play points on the year. That's gross, right? So what do we do with him? I think what's happening with Josi is it's like worst case scenario, really. And hopefully you didn't spend too much draft capital picking up Roman Josi, because we did warn against it. It's a boom or bust player. I mean, the boom is a 70-point defenseman. The bust is kind of what we're looking at here, which is still a 51-point pace, albeit in a small sample size. But I'm not sure he gets over that 51-point pace with the team performing the way it is here. So I don't know. If you got him, you got to hold on. Really, you don't want to sell low on a player like this, especially if you drafted him in like the 4th round or something like that. Like, I don't know. I would be hesitant to get off of Roman Josi because of what he's capable of doing. At least the ice time is still there. Like, Roman Josi, last 5 games, ice time, yeah, he's playing just under 25 minutes. That's fine. but the metrics are terrible. They truly are. So it's just one of those situations. You kind of got to go down with the ship unless someone out there gives you an offer, or you're able to include Roman Josi to kind of sweeten a trade deal and get a couple players that you really want back. But yeah, I'd be holding on to Roman Josi right now and sort of just hoping that he figures it out a little bit. But managed expectations, we're looking at a 50 to 60 point defenseman max. All right. Let's see what the hell is going on. Dylan Holloway, the next player we want to talk about from the St. Louis Blues. Let's take a look. How did the Oilers let this guy go? I don't understand. He's not doing, or he's been great lately, but I mean, his numbers are down this year. We talked about St. Louis and sort of their struggles offensively. Goaltending has been terrible, right? He's on a 46-point pace after 30 games, so that's fine. You're getting good peripherals with Dylan Holloway, 77 hits, 22 blocks in 30 games. That'll play, right? But I don't know. To me, like digging in on the metrics here, let's take a look. So 114th overall in shots on goal per 60 last 5 games. That's mid. 178th in individual expected goals per 60 in the last 5 games. That's not great, right? That's not what we want to see. His numbers on the season pretty much mirror that. In fact, the individual expected goals are worse at 249th overall. So all that to say, like, we shouldn't be valuing this guy as like a first line talent by any means, right? I mean, who's he playing with currently? I got to look at this. So it's good podcasting, folks. Okay. Yeah. So he's playing with Braden Shen, who's actually been really good as of late, and Matthew Joseph as of last game. It's a third line, right? Like, and he's not getting power play 1. So he's doing this based off of efficiency, right? And kind of just being at the right place at the right time. Like if you look at his shooting percentage, 16% over the last 5 games. That accounts for 2 goals, but he's not shooting enough for it to make sense for me. So I think he's a banger league option. He should be rostered in a banger league, but he's streamer level at best to me in a points league, even with banger weighting. My 2 cents. Let's move on. Jesper Bratt. Let's talk about him. Man, the Devils have been really, really rough to watch as of late. Without Jack Hughes, it's like they're like the Canucks. They're like the Canucks without Jack Hughes. And that's hard to see because they have a lot of really good offensive players. So they aren't able to figure it out here. 5-on-5 under the hood. They have 21st overall in expected goals for, but they're 30th in the league in actual goals scored at 5-on-5. The Devils. We're the Devils. That's crazy to me, right? This is a team that has, I mean, when Jack Hughes is healthy, the two of the best rushing forwards in the entire NHL in Jesper Bratt and Jack Hughes, right? And with Jack Hughes injured, Bratt has it's been cheeks for sure. Like it's been a rough go. He's got 0 points in his last 3 games, still on a 76-point pace on the year. Right. But the goal scoring has fallen off a cliff. Only 5 goals on the year, shooting at 7.6%. You know, that's the second lowest of his career, besides the shortened season he played in 2020-21, where he shot 6.9%. Nice. But yeah, I'm definitely concerned with what I see here. 4 assists in the last 5 games. The time on ice is great, right? 20.5 minutes over the last 5 games. And these individual metrics, not terrible. You can see here his on-ice shooting percentage. He's his on-ice numbers. 6th overall in Corsi 4 per 60, 23rd overall in scoring chance 4 per 60. That'll play, right? Their line is generating enough. He's out there. I think he's playing with Meyer, and they're doing some crazy stuff. Yeah, it's Meyer. Sometimes Bratt is playing with that line. They've loaded up towards the end of games. He also plays with Mercer and Andre Palat. I think obviously it's better when they put him up with Hischier and Meyer, but it really kind of thins out the offense there in Jersey. So yeah, what am I doing here with Bratt? I feel like I've got him in one spot. You're really not doing anything. Like you're kind of waiting for Jack Hughes to come back. But that said, I feel like Bratt should be able to carry some of this himself. He has in the past without Jack Hughes. I've seen him have some good numbers there. Nico Hischier, is stepping up as well. I feel like those are players that obviously we got to get something a little bit more out of those players. The power play in Jersey is still really good, 9th best in power play percentage. So Bratt is going to get some numbers there, but it's been a slog. It's been a slog at even strength, and it's kind of inexplicable. I don't really have an explanation for that besides the fact that maybe their offense is so tailored to one player that when that player is gone, they're kind of playing catch up. They're trying to figure out a different way to play here. So all that to say, you got to hold on to Bratt. I don't want to get off him. I feel like this is a guy that still has 90-point potential this season. He's currently pacing for 74, but I think there's some room on the power play, and there's some room for his individual goal scoring. This guy's got that's going to regress up his shooting percentage, in my opinion. So that's what I'm doing with Bratt. We're almost done here, folks. So really appreciate you sticking it out with me. It's a lot of fun. I like doing this live. It's neat. Yeah, it's weird to just hear my thoughts for the first time and just say them, which I enjoy. I don't know if anybody else enjoys that. My wife certainly doesn't. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Matvei Michkov. All right. This guy's tooting in all our faces. What are you doing? He's actually had a good last 5 games. So let's say that 5 points in the last 5 games. Good metrics too. 32nd overall in shots on goal per 60, 120th overall in individual expected goals per 60. Not as good, but the on-ice numbers excellent. 21st overall in Corsi 4 per 60, 28th overall in scoring chances 4 per 60. You like to see it. All right. That's kind of what we expect from a player of this caliber. But what the hell, Talks? Get him out there for some good minutes. My God, he's got him playing with Couturier and Owen Tippett, just the Tippett, and that's fine. But really, to me, it's the minutes. I want to see. We need more time of Michkov out there. This is still one of those guys that he's got to play on the right side of the puck a little bit more to kind of endear himself to his head coach, and he's not doing that, and he's not getting the deployment needed. Like we hated this with John Tortorella. Michkov got 16 minutes, 41 seconds average time on ice. Well, under Rick Tocchet, he's averaging 14 minutes, 50 seconds. It got worse. It actually got worse. Not something I expected to happen, but Tocchet even said today they're building a culture here in Philadelphia. I thought that's what John Tortorella was doing. Do we still need to build the culture there, Talk? Can you maybe put your best offensive players on the ice and let them get to biz? That'd be nice. All right. We need some fantasy managers as head coaches in the league. I know plenty of good people here in the Apples and Ginos Discord would be happy to coach a team, right? Am I right, folks? Give me a heck yeah. Anybody? Thank you. All right. But yeah, I mean, last 5 games, 15 minutes average time on ice for Michkov. That show ain't no good. Damn it. Plus his IPP, definitely lower than I would like to see. Last 5 games, IPP is in the 55 percentile. On the year, Michkov's IPP, 59%. So this is, again, the talent of this player and his play style, which is very similar to Connor Bedard. His IPP should be a lot higher, should be in the mid 70s, right? So he's not carrying the puck in as much. He's not driving offense to the level that I would expect a player of this talent, right? So that is concerning for sure. The ice time is concerning. His involvement in the offense is concerning. So all that to say, like, yeah, I've seen him dropped in a bunch of spots and picked up again and dropped and picked up. It might be that kind of season for Michkov. Like he's not getting the deployment that we need, and you can't just hold him and take a bunch of zeros, right? Kind of similar to Ivan Demidov, right? Yeah, sure, you're getting power play 1, but you're also only getting 13 minutes average time on ice. So it's not enough, right? It's not enough for these type of players to get into the game and to really hit for fantasy. So I think if you need to drop Michkov, you do. He's on a couple wires in leagues that I'm in, and people are picking him up as a streamer with the good playoff schedule. So, take that for what it's worth. This is obviously a player that I think is going to hit at some point for fantasy. I don't think it's going to be this year based on what I'm seeing there out of Philadelphia. So I'm expecting kind of a 50 to 55 point player. Michkov, I hate to say it because I think some of us were, maybe hoping that this guy could rise up to like 85, 90 points. I think that is sort of ceiling, but we're getting kind of a reality check here with Michkov. Let's talk about Timmy Stutz of the Ottawa Senators. And this one's rough too. I think Nate talked about him recently. He might have written about him in that Patreon article for the show that we missed on Sunday night there, Timmy Stutes, but 1 assist in the last 5 games. Metrics, not good, right? 258th in shots on goal per 60, not great. 192nd in individual expected goals per 60. Rough stuff for Timmy Stutes. Like, this is an offensive player who's not providing any offense. And that's always a problem. Good news is Brady Tkachuk is back in his life. And that's a guy that, is going to get a ton of scoring chances. He fires a ton of shots on net. So Timmy Stutes is a good offensive player, a good facilitator. And I feel like that alone is enough for me to kind of give him a little bit of a pass. Like, now that he's got Brady Tkachuk on his line, like, let's let them cook a little bit and see what happens, right? This is kind of a stinky stretch, but Stutes is still getting the minutes, right? He's still getting a ton of minutes. You'd love to see it. He's getting power play 1. Ottawa does get a lot of power play opportunities, some of the most in the league usually. So stick it out. I mean, it's not what you like to see. Let me just look at Stutes here. I just want to make sure I'm getting everything. Looks like, 70-point pace. It's a little bit lower than where he's been. He's shooting more than he normally does. The hits are going to be there. The power play, I think, is an area that's fallen off for Stutes in particular. Ottawa does have a decent power play, but Stutes hasn't been in on it as much. This is a guy that can score 30 power play points in seasons, which he did last year, 33 points. So that's kind of shaving a bit off the top. Again, I do think adding Brady Tkachuk back into the lineup is going to raise the floor of any player that plays with him. And Timmy Stutes has his own gravity. So I think that, I feel like this is kind of a nice little buy low. I don't think you'd have to spend a lot to get Timmy Stutes based on kind of his point pace and where people may have drafted him. This is a guy that's almost annually overdrafted, right? And right now I think he's undervalued, right? I think he's much better than a 70-point player. I think he's a point per game player. And now we've got Brady Tkachuk back in the lineup. So see what you can do. Get some Timmy Stutes in your life. I love the ice time, and Brady Tkachuk back in his life. Okay. Let's move on to the next player. Zachary Hyman of the Edmonton Oilers, 4 points in the last 5 games. He's starting to get back to biz, and you like to see it. The Oilers power play, number 1 in the league. They're back to being an absolute wagon. And Zach Hyman, he's getting that power play 1 treatment again, right? So you love to see it. I mean, he hasn't really done much with it. He only has 1 goal, which is a power play goal in 10 games. But that's gonna go up, right? His shooting percentage in general is really low right now. 9.5% after 13.2 last year, which was a down season. His big year, 54 goals, he shot 18.6%. So he's got that in his bag, but I think, it's probably closer to 13%. And I think he's going to get there, right? It's just access to that power play. To me, Zach Hyman, you're happy if you stashed him. I wasn't sure initially when you had Jack Roslovic out there who was really performing well, and Hyman came back. I thought Roslovic might hold it for a little bit. And I'm glad to see that, Hyman is taking his rightful place there. And we'll see, right? I think I'm loving what I'm seeing out of the Edmonton Oilers power play. I also read something recently too about the Oilers. They have the easiest schedule by far moving forward for the rest of the year. So, I mean, take that for what it's worth, right? In terms of strength of schedule, Oilers have the number 1 best strength of schedule for the rest of the season. They've had a tough go so far. So expect them to eat a little bit more, right? You got Draisaitl and McDavid starting to pop now. Nuge is getting going. I think Hyman's going to be right there with them. In terms of point projection for Zach Hyman, I mean, he's pacing for 49 right now. I could see him getting up to a 60-point pace, maybe like a 30 goal, 30 assist kind of pace with a bunch of power play points. And I do like his ice time as well. He's averaging more than he averaged last year in 73 games. So yeah, Hyman's your Huckleberry. I think I'm liking what I'm seeing here, and it's a good step for him. All right. Let's finish it off, folks. We're going to talk about Quinn Hughes, Luke Hughes, and I'll throw Dougie Hamilton in there as well. But yeah, all this news out of Vancouver, I hate this. I freaking hate this so much. All created by Jim Rutherford, Dingus McGee over here in Vancouver, talking about Quinn Hughes going to Jersey. But yeah, I mean, it's every other day you're hearing some random trade proposal. Meanwhile, Quinn Hughes is like, it seems like he doesn't even care about those, rumors. He's just kind of like going about his business. But I hate to see it. It's like the media is driving Quinn Hughes out of Vancouver right now. And I hate it. I think, this is the type of player you need to, protect at all costs, right? And he's a generational player to me. He's the second best defenseman in the league. He's better than Cale Makar at a lot of things, in my opinion. He's just not as dynamic. And he certainly doesn't have the talent to play with the way that Makar does, right? But yeah, it's been a rough stretch for Quinn Hughes and the Canucks in general. Quinn Hughes last 5 games, 0 points. Okay, I mean that is abnormal, right? That's not something that we are used to seeing from Quinn Hughes, because if the Canucks are scoring, Hughes is usually in on it. So ice time is still insane. It's just under 29 minutes. He's going to get that all season. They need him out here. Metrics, they're fine. I mean, he's 40th overall amongst D-men in shots goal per 60. That'll come back up, right? He's still shooting a bunch on the year. It's just been a poor stretch for him. But individual expected goals per 60, 22nd. On ice numbers, great. Corsi 4 per 60, 8th, and he's second overall in scoring chances 4 per 60 when he's out there, right? And I'm sure you've all seen these tweets where Quinn Hughes on the ice, and here's the Canucks offensive metrics, and Quinn Hughes off the ice, here's the Canucks goal differential. And it's stark. It's crazy stuff. Like, he's just the biggest part of any team. Like, if the Hart Trophy was awarded to the most important player to his team, it would be Quinn Hughes or Connor Hellebuck every single year, right? Like, those are your players that are making the biggest difference. Quinn Hughes is keeping the Canucks afloat to some degree, even though they're, dead last in the league. It could be worse. It could be a lot worse. We got David Kampf over here as our 1C. That's how bad it is in Vancouver. And Quinn Hughes is still on like a 75 point pace. So all this to say, Quinn Hughes, absolutely a buy low. I'd be putting out offers to try and get him. I don't think he's getting traded this year. I really don't see it happening. So we're not in a hurry to do it. So unless someone comes with an offer that's, like the Godfather, like, you can't refuse, right? You get an offer you can't refuse, sure. But it's going to have to be something massive to move a player like Quinn Hughes this season. I just don't see it happening. So buy low on Quinn Hughes for sure. I think the Canucks, when you dig in on some of their metrics, their power play is still pretty good, right? Obviously, offensively, it's not great. They're 28th overall in the league in 5-on-5 expected goals, but the power play is 12th best. And they're even better than that in expected goals. So Canucks power play could get even more points. Obviously, we need Elias Pettersson back in the lineup here to help with that. But yeah, Quinn Hughes is making everything work here. So I like the player. I still think like 80-point Quinn Hughes is a floor. I think he's going to have a floor of 80 points, and he should probably get back up to 90. I don't think he's getting traded, but that's my 2 cents there. Let's talk about Luke Hughes. Been a frustrating season for him as well. Just, to go along with the Devils, Luke Hughes and Dougie Hamilton. Yeah, the Devils power play is really the only thing keeping them afloat there. The offensive environment, terrible, like I spoke about there with Jesper Bratt. I do think that it's going to get better, but they're gonna have to figure some things out, right? Let's dig in on the individual players here. Luke Hughes, 1 assist in 5 games. Deployment is great. He's getting 23 minutes a night. Metrics are great too. He's shooting a bunch, 4th overall in shots to goal per 60, 41st overall in individual expected goals per 60 amongst D-men. That's fine. He's doing what he needs to do, but I mean, the forwards are really letting them down, right? These guys are all snake bit big time. Sheldon Keefe is shuffling lines, going crazy. And this power play stuff, like it's pretty frustrating for fantasy, right? Because they've got different power play units for each game almost. Like Luke Hughes, if you look at his power play share over the past 5 games, like listen to this: 59% last game, 20% the game before, 3% the game before that, 14% the game before that, and then 42% the game before that. So that, I mean, to me, Luke Hughes is kind of streamer level at this point. With this kind of deployment and no consistent power play time, you do not have to hold on to Luke Hughes, right? Like, this guy is on a 42-point pace. I mean, there's other guys out there that are on a 42-point pace as well, right? That are getting better looks and better opportunity. They aren't better players than Luke Hughes, but they're getting better opportunity. So I think, we have to be real with Luke Hughes there. When it comes to Dougie Hamilton, though, I want to hold on to Dougie Hamilton. I feel like he's bringing more to the table that is tangible for fantasy. And obviously, we're talking about his shot generation. He's an amazing shooter from the back end. In terms of his power play percentage, it's a little bit more stable than Luke Hughes, like 55, 54%, 51%, 58%. He's getting that power play time consistently where Luke Hughes isn't. Because Simon Nemec is in here getting some power play time as well. So, I'm not gonna talk about him, but I do think that Dougie is the safer fantasy option at this point. That said, 0 points in the last 5 games for him. Deployment is fine. Metrics are great. 8th overall in shots to goal per 60, 17th overall in individual expected goals per 60. And then when you look at Dougie Hamilton on the year, 4th overall amongst D-men in shots to goal per 60, 10th overall in individual expected goals per 60. You'd love to see it, but he's on a 26-point pace, folks. It's rough. So these are both kind of reclamation projects to me. I would value Hamilton over Hughes at this point, Luke Hughes, just because of the shots and his access to that power play. But I mean, in a 14-teamer, I want Luke Hughes on my team. There's no question. I think he's a hold in a 14-teamer, but in a 12-teamer, I think he's streamer level. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. But oh dang, look at this. We have comments and I wasn't getting notified. Oh man, you know what? I'm going to go through these comments. Let me just do this here. All right. You hang tight with me, folks. Sorry, I didn't even see I had comments here. See, this is what happens. I get live and I don't know what's happening. All right. Nichushkin or Dorofeyev, keep one in a points league. I think I'm going to go Nichushkin there. I feel like he has kind of a better opportunity to get assists, right? We talked about Dorofeyev and what he's doing out there. I think that Nichushkin is a bigger part of the offense, and I do think he has an outside chance of getting back on power play 1. He's a great performer there. All right. Let's move forward. Another comment here. Love the videos, especially crossing the streams. You betcha, sweet Bippy. All right, thank you. Picked up Beckett Seneca last week as a streamer and put up monster numbers. Is it sustainable? Thank you. Let's take a look. Beckett Seneca, 6 points in the last 5 games. I think that Beckett Seneca actually is a player that he's not a great streamer for this upcoming week, but I think he's a great player to have long term on your roster, right? Obviously, his line is really crushing out there. I mean, I dug in on this earlier. Cutter Gauthier, Mason McTavish, Beckett Seneca, they're 3rd best in the entire league just in the entire league in expected goals. So they're really cooking, and that says to me that what he is doing is absolutely sustainable. I mean, he's on a 68-point pace. I could see him getting 60 to 65 points this season. So really nice stuff. I think it's a great ad. I picked him up in 2 spots, and I'm happy I have him. All right, let's keep going. How sustainable are Morgan Geekie and Tom Wilson right now? Expecting regression, but not sure how much. I think Morgan Geekie, this is a player that, we've talked about a lot here, and obviously the shooting percentage is off the hook, right? I mean, he's popping off on the year. Morgan Geekie is shooting 27.5%. We've seen it before. Andrei Kuzmenko did it. Sam Reinhart did it. So it's not unachievable, but what's been a positive thing with Morgan Geekie is he's still been able to score with David Pastrnak out of the lineup. So that said, I do think you could potentially sell high. Like he's on an 87-point pace. I don't see that sticking. I don't see a 60-goal pace sticking for Morgan Geekie. I see him more as like maybe a 40 to 45 goal scorer, 30 assists. So like a 75-point player. But if you can value him as like one of the top goal scorers in the entire league, you can definitely maybe pull down kind of a late first rounder, early second rounder for Morgan Geekie. And I think that'd be a total steal for you. Let's take a look at Tom Wilson. So I was wondering why I wasn't getting any comments. It wasn't giving me the little red notification. What the hell's going on? Anyways, Tom Wilson, I think he's had a great season as well. I've got him in a bunch of spots as well. Last 5 games, 6 points in 5. Deployment is amazing. He's on the power play. And right here is where it's really getting me excited. 13th overall in individual expected goals per 60. So, and then on the year, he's 46 overall in individual expected goals per 60. 87 points might be a bit spicy. I think 75 to 80 points for Tom Wilson is where he lives, and I feel good about that. Plus, you get all the hits as well and the PIMs if you're in that kind of league. Next comment, how sustainable is Patrick Kane's production? I think it's very sustainable. Patrick Kane, to me, is a guy that's criminally under-rostered. Detroit's power play is a wagon, and he's on it. Plus, one thing Patrick Kane's doing now pretty well is he's shooting, right? Last 5 games, 60th overall in shots goal per 60. Love to see that. 78-point pace. Yeah. He on the season, he's 28th overall in individual expected goals. So, yeah, with those kind of numbers, yeah, this type of production is sustainable. I think it's probably closer to 70 to 75 point pace for Patrick Kane, but absolutely, I'm here for it. Lafreniere or Huberdeau pickup in a deep league. I'd go with Lafreniere there for the playoff schedule and just the talent of the player and the talent around him. Next one, McKinnon trade for McDavid and Peterka. I'd ask you why. Why do you want to get off McKinnon, right? It's certainly a haul. Like, you're getting McDavid and Peterka. Like, I think you could technically say, like, oh yeah, you're getting good value for McKinnon, but you're also going to have to drop a player. So it's not just McKinnon, it's McKinnon and a player that you're dropping. What's the purpose, right? I mean, I think Colorado has a better playoff schedule than the Edmonton Oilers do. So I'd much rather have some McKinnon in there. Plus, their even strength environment is tops in the entire league, right? And their power play is not. So I think there's some headroom for the Colorado power play. So I think I'd be hesitant to move McKinnon unless I knew the reason why. Let's see. Dylan Strome. Someone wants to hear about Dylan Strome. Let's take a look at this. Sorry, this might go long, folks, but that's fine. All right. We're doing it live, damn it. Dylan Strome. Yeah. He's a great facilitator, no question. There's some good stuff under the hood here. You know, last 5 games, 2 points in 5. So that's fine. Again, he's the facilitator. He's not the guy that's going to be shooting the puck. He's going to be doing, Ovechkin's going to be that guy. But last 5 games, Dylan Strome's expected goals per 60, on ice expected goals per 60 is 15th best in the league. You love to see that. And then it's 12th best on the season. So yeah, 67-point pace. That makes sense to me. I feel like there's probably a little bit more room for some goal scoring for Dylan Strome. He's a pretty efficient player, only shooting 13% on the year. But yeah, on ice shooting percentage is great. I think, yeah, Ovechkin's still doing the thing against all odds. And I think Dylan Strome is probably like a 65 to 70-point player. All right. Austin Matthews needs his mojo back. You betcha, sweet bippy, buddy. I think he needs Marner back. I don't know. But we'll see. That's a guy that can obviously get hot and just obliterate the opponents there. Let's take a look. Allowed to ask about trade suggestions? Sure, if you're still here. Let's see. Got Kyrou, and he's killing me. Yeah. Especially with the injury. But I do love that player. But I don't know. It's been a frustrating year. I think St. Louis might be a lost cause. I could see Kyrou getting traded this year. Another question. Hey, Blake, do you take Kreider or McCann? Looking for points, goals, shots, and hits. I'm taking Kreider there. I think that I like his deployment better. He's getting power play 1. He's going to get you more hits. He's going to get you more shots. Might even get you more points. I think Kreider takes all those. So, yeah, that's where I'm rolling there. Hey, Blake, would you trade Makar for McDavid 1-for-1? Goals, assists, power play, points, shots, a goal, hits, and blocks. Yeah, I mean, it's good value. I mean, I would take McDavid over Makar, but you're getting obviously the best value over replacement in the entire league with Makar. So it depends on what the rest of your D looks like in that situation, but you're getting McDavid. So I'd have to go on the McDavid side on that. I think that's, you got to take it really, and that's good value. Thomas or Strome, deciding who to drop, and these are my lowest performers so far. 10 team points with slight banger weighting. I'd probably drop, let's take a look. I'd probably drop Robert Thomas, to be honest. I talked about him a little earlier, and I just feel like Ovechkin is still doing what he needs to do, and Strome could probably get in on that a little bit more. And he's pacing for higher points, and the ice time's similar. Yeah, I'd drop Thomas. I'd keep Strome. I think Washington has a better schedule moving forward as well. Let's see. What's your opinion? Rest of season, would you rather have Adam Fantilli or Matt Duchene? I'd rather have Adam Fantilli. All right, no question there. Matt Duchene is a great player, great offensive player, but he's kind of in the middle six there in Dallas. Power play 2. If he gets back to power play 1, then it's more of a conversation. But Adam Fantilli is rocking right now. Metrics look good. And you got face-off wins in here. So, yeah, Adam Fantilli is going to get you that, whereas Duchene won't. Let's see. All right. I feel like I ask the same question to Nate every week. 10-team Cats hold 2 defensemen. We got Carlson, Eric Carlson, Seth Jones, Rasmus Anderson, Morgan Riley, Luke Hughes. Hold 2 defensemen. In a Cats league. Let's see. Oh, no, it's goals, assists, shots, hits, power play points. Okay. So I'm probably holding Seth Jones and, that's a tough one. I like Rasmus Anderson a lot, what he's doing, but he's not hitting. He blocks. So if you don't have blocks in there, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Let me take a look. Sorry, folks. I'm just getting in on some of this stuff here. I probably hold Eric Carlson. That makes some sense. You get the power play points. So Carlson, Jones, book it. That's how I'm rolling there. All right. Let's see. Next one. How do you rank Dobson, Bertuzzi, Voronkov, Byfield, and Kakuffa point scoring? I'd go, well, I mean, D's tough to come by in a 14-teamer. So Dobson would be up there. The metrics are good with him. I'd probably go Dobson, Byfield, Voronkov, Bertuzzi. That's how I'd roll there. 10-team Cats. Would you rush to drop Askarov for Kochetkov or Vejmelka? It wouldn't be a rush. I would say, I actually just did this. I had Askarov in a points league. I dropped him for Vejmelka for this week because I think Vejmelka is going to get 3 starts. Could get 4 even. But yeah, not for Kochetkov. I don't like the 3 goalie situation there. But I think you could safely drop Askarov for Vejmelka and feel pretty good about that. Oh, geez, there's so many comments. My God. Oh, sorry, folks. I totally messed up on this one. All right. Let's see. Who wins Bratt and Bertuzzi for Will Smith and Velarde? I would say Bratt and Bertuzzi wins that. Let's see. Okay. No, we're not doing that. Okay. Let's see. Should I do Heischer for Hart trade in bangers? Are you talking Carter Hart for Heischer? Yeah. Take the Heischer side all day and twice on Sundays. Boot Carter Hart to the curb. See you later, ding dong. All right. Let's see. Hey, Blake. Remember when I traded JT for Bedard 3 weeks ago? To be honest, I'm feeling okay about it, all things considered. Oh, thank you, Joe Swaggity. All right. Let's see. If you had to pick one, which of Kane or Zuccarello rest of season, I'd take Patrick Kane there. I think the metrics are better, and the power play is comparable, and the 5-on-5 play is much better. So I'm taking Patrick Kane there over the Zucchini Man. Pick one of each for a longer-term hold. Zuccarello versus Kane, Riley or Doughty. I would take Kane. I would take Riley. Let's see. Almost done, folks. Let's see. Perfetti or Benson worth holding for a potential 7th keeper? It's hard to say. I like Benson a lot. I'd like to see him shoot a little bit more and get some goal scoring going. Perfetti on power play 2, I'm not really interested in. So for a potential 7th keeper, I don't know your league or what your team looks like, but I'm interested in Benson moving forward for sure. All right. Let's see. Oh, I'm almost done here. You know what? That's it. I'm going to call it there, folks. Thank you so much for sticking with me here. I really appreciate that. This has been a lot of fun. I'm going to try and get Nate to let me do this again. All right. Because I'm having a good time. All right. I can't stop. Won't stop. All right. Ever. Okay. But that's it. That's all we got for this episode. Hopefully it brought you a little bit of value. Hope you get better at fantasy hockey today. All the advanced stats you heard from came from Natural Stat Trick and 18 Skaters. Many thanks to my brother, Matt Creamer, for supplying the music for the podcast. That's it, folks. Celebrate your day. Bye for now.